Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this content marketing guide, you're going to learn 5 actionable tips you can start using today to either start or revamp your content marketing process. Timestamp table of contents in the description, along with some other helpful deep dive content marketing videos if you want to go deeper on one of these 5 tips. So as we dive into these 5 tips, let's go ahead and define what content marketing is so we're on the same page. Now, all content marketing is creating media that grabs your ideal customer's attention and delivers value. Now, there are 3 keys to this definition. Number 1 is media, so this is either text, audio, or a video like this one. Then we have grabs attention, so it needs to be something that's actually going to pull your potential readers or viewers or ideal customers in. And number 3, most importantly, it actually delivers value. So content is valuable because it's helping your ideal customer or your readers or your audience, not because it's talking about how great you or your product or service is, but we'll get into the types of content in one of the tips. So the very first tip I have for you when it comes to content marketing is choosing one platform. I know, yes, this is controversial. You'll see influencers in your space. You'll see all the big marketers. They seem to post multiple times a day everywhere, and big businesses and brands do the same. Well, when you're just getting started, that's actually a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for not being successful. And when we get to tip number 5, syndication, you'll see how you can actually focus on one platform and become a master at it, and you'll easily be able to do what all the other big brands and influencers are doing later on down the road. So when it comes to content marketing, not all platforms are created equal. When it comes to the type of content you're going to be making, you have written, which is going to be blog posts, you have audio, which is going to be a podcast, or you have video, which is going to be YouTube. Yes, there are other platforms out there, but there's a huge difference between social media marketing, which is essentially making posts multiple times a day, repurposing content, and trying to get engagement off of a post that's only going to last 24 hours, and actual content marketing where you're putting your time and energy into something that's going to continue to grab attention, continue to deliver value, and actually has a chance of ranking on a search engine long term. So the best, easiest way to figure out whether or not you're looking at a platform from a social media perspective or you're looking at a platform from a content perspective is the search box. Does the platform operate on search or does it operate on a feed? So for example, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that's pretty much a feed based. When you look at Google, Pinterest, or YouTube, while Pinterest and YouTube do have feeds, they also have a search box. So when you're creating a content marketing strategy, your best friend is going to be that search function. We'll get into promotion and ranking in a little bit here. So that's tip number 1, is make sure that you choose one platform, and really video's the best, podcast is next, and blogging is a distant third because there are just so many blogs out there. So if you want to stand out, you have to do something that is harder and more uncomfortable, like getting on video or starting a podcast, because your other competitors who are the same size as you are still trying to go the easy route and just do blog posts. Now, when it comes to budget, before we go on to tip number 2, you're going to expect to pay anywhere from $200 to $500 for someone to actually create your blog post, podcast, or video essentially 100% for you delegated. If you're a part of the process, then if you're hiring an editor or you're getting some graphics done, you're looking at $75 to $200. Of course, you can do everything yourself, but these are just general price ranges on what it's going to cost you to focus in on that one platform and get a lot of help in the content creation process. Now, tip number 2 deals with the type of content that you're making, because when it comes to creating content, not all types of content are equal. So I want you to think for a second of your ideal customer and your product. So your product's up here and your ideal customer's down here. They have a bunch of questions, concerns, and objections and curiosity before they're going to be able to be ready to buy your product or service. So the job of your content is to answer all of those questions, fill in those curiosity holes, and just make sure that they have all the information they need to buy your product or service. So content is just filling those gaps along the way until they're ready. And there's 3 specific types of content that do a really, really good job of doing this. The first one is how-to content. This is simply thinking of your ideal customer and a problem or issue that they have. It doesn't always have to be directly related to your product or service. It can be something that you know they might be dealing with outside of your product or service, right? Because your product or service does one thing, so you want to try and solve all the other problems that surround your niche or industry to demonstrate your value and be helpful to your ideal customer. So when it's time to buy, they think of you and not somebody else. The second type would be the review, where essentially you are looking at products or services or alternative companies in your niche or industry and creating reviews, pros and cons list. The final one is also similar to a pros and cons list, but this is where you're actually helping them make a decision. So you're creating some sort of comprehensive guide to help them in the decision-making process. For example, if you were a bike shop, you could do a how to choose your first bike guide, and it wouldn't necessarily be a review of a specific bike. It would go through a series of questions or a series of considerations that someone who's new to biking would need to consider in order to decide which bike to look at. And of course, when we get into promotion, you'll see how this piece of content can actually be really, really valuable in terms of pulling people in and syndicating them across your other pieces of content. So that does it for tip number 2. Tip number 3 is setting a schedule. Now, this can be the most daunting part of the process, right? Because you might see other influencers and businesses in your space posting multiple times a day across multiple platforms, and even sometimes multiple times a day on the one platform that you've chosen to focus on. And what I would say is when you're just getting started, make sure that you just choose at least one day a week where you're going to post the content. I know it's not ideal, but consistency and persistence is the key to content marketing success. It's much better to create a routine and a schedule where you consistently create at least one piece of content a week, as opposed to trying to block out this giant block of time where you're going to produce 5 or 6 different pieces of content. So your goal should be 3 pieces, but you'll start at 1. And as you start to publish more than one type of content piece a week, you're actually going to want to rotate through the 3 types of content that we talked about. This is for 2 main reasons. Reason number 1, it's going to make sure that you don't create the same type of content over and over and over again. You have a good breadth and different variety of content so you can speak to multiple different people and not just get stuck or pigeonholed into one specific type of content. The second reason, arguably more important, even though it has nothing to do with your ideal customers or viewers, is you, because the how-to content is most likely going to take a lot longer than creating a decision guide or a review. And so by choosing specific days of the week, when you create these specific different types of content, it allows you to manage your time, and it makes sure that content marketing doesn't become this overwhelming thing that can never be done. As an example, for this particular channel, when I do how-to content for Google Analytics or we do a deep dive into YouTube ads, those take 5 to 10 times longer than simply creating a review of a software or decision guide on what piece of software to use, because those things are based upon our own experience. So it only takes me a couple hours to do those, whereas doing a deep dive into Google Analytics or YouTube ads, the video winds up being almost an hour long and it takes 10 to 20 hours to put that together. So it helps you manage your time. And so that's why you want to start with 1 at the beginning to get into that rhythm, and then rotate the different types of content so you don't only create 1, and you're going to be able to manage your content creation schedule a whole lot better. Now, number 4 deals with promotion. Now, when it comes to content marketing, something that's great is you choose a platform that has a search box, which means you can do all sorts of things with search engine optimization, trying to get your piece of content to organically show up on the first page results. We won't go too deep into that. If you want to learn more about SEO, I'll link up in the description to a video that walks through some basic SEO strategies. But when it comes to promotion, SEO is not enough anymore, especially because it can take 3 to 6 months for your post to actually start getting towards the top of the first page. So what you want to do is, for a couple $100, start promoting your content. In 2020 and beyond, promoting your content is arguably just as important as creating your content, and it doesn't have to be super expensive. Take a look at this screenshot, for example. If you are in one of our target countries and type in content marketing tips, we can actually shortcut everyone else who spent a ton of time and energy on SEO. And for just a few cents per view, we can put our content marketing video at the top. And while this is an example on YouTube, this is possible for any type of content and almost any platform out there. Because when it comes to promoting content, it's almost always going to be cheaper than if you were trying to promote a lead page or some sort of paid offer. Because when it comes to these advertising platforms, when you promote content, you actually wind up paying less than if you're trying to get someone on your email list or make an actual sale. So let's go ahead and go through which platforms you should be advertising advertising on for your content. Again, you can go as low as $1 per day. In fact, the video I just showed you, we have a budget of $3 a day for that campaign, and we just let it run. So you don't have to have a big marketing budget to do this, but it is going to make a monumental difference. And then I'll also go through why this is so important. But let's go through how to promote first. So if you're looking at a blog, you're going to want to look at LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Google Display Ads, and Pinterest. These platforms are going to allow you for a few cents per click get traffic to your blog. Then when it comes to your podcast, check out LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram ads. And then finally for YouTube, Google ads and YouTube ads is going to be the best for YouTube because Google owns YouTube. It's very, very easy to use Google ads to promote your content here on YouTube. I'll actually link up in the description to my $5 a day strategy, which is what we used for that video example I talked about with content marketing. Now, the other reason that you really want to do this is because it's going to take a really long time for that feedback to come in on whether or not your content's actually any good. Because when you're waiting for your post to rank organically, it's going to be weeks or months before you get your first 1,000 views or your first 1,000 visits to your blog. And only then do you start getting some information as to whether or not the piece of content you made was actually any good. Whereas with just a couple bucks, you can get that information within a week, which means as you create your one content piece a week, you can look back and see in your ads account, okay, how many people clicked, did people like the headline? Were people actually watching the video? Are people actually reading the blog post? Did you actually get any comments or feedback? And this is going to accelerate the process of you improving your content because not only are you getting your content out there faster and you're getting in front of more ideal customers, you're going to get that feedback and data quicker so you can improve the future content. Now, this last tip I have for you is a little different than all the others, and that is syndication equals delegation. So when we talk about and you see other influencers, niches, and brands, they have content everywhere, they're posting multiple times a day. You as an entrepreneur, business owner, that is not your job. So anything that deals with content outside of your one core piece of content per week or your one platform should be delegated. So if you don't have the budget or the time to delegate it, then just don't worry about it for now. So go ahead and take a look at this table. Here's the timestamp, and you can always come back to this slide and pause and read it. But essentially, this is going to break down how you can take any one of your core content pieces, whether you're doing a blog, you're doing YouTube, or you're doing a podcast, and how you can take that content and easily cut it up into little pieces or reformat it for the other mediums and content types. And so this is what you're going to have someone else do. It's very important that you don't do this personally. If you have time to do this, then you should go back to the schedule part and make sure that you're doing more than one content piece a week, because that's where your time is really going to get the most return. Now, when it comes to getting up and running with the syndication process and scheduling, as you can see here, if you're posting, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday on your main platform, then you can have someone else do the syndicated content on other days on the other platforms. So at least this way, you're creating a touch point every single day across at least one platform. And this final slide here will show you the actual approximate numbers it would cost per post or per month to have your content syndicated. Of course, these are just ranges to give you a ballpark estimate, right? These are not exact. Of course, it's going to depend upon how much training you're willing to give the person. Of course, you can always just send them to this video. Are going to pay more if you're hiring someone who has already done it in the past and really understands the process. So thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope you got some value out of this video. And most importantly, you have at least 1 or 2 tips you can take away to either jumpstart your content marketing plan or improve the plan you already have in place. Comment below if you have any questions. Hit that like button, subscribe for more content marketing and advertising videos just like this one. And until the next, keep building the business you love.